I'm Alex Dykes, and we're out here taking a look at the 2015 Volvo V60 station wagon. Now, it's been a few years since Volvo has sold a station wagon that wasn't a station wagon crossover in the United States. They canceled the V70 wagon in about 2010, and they've only had the XC70, which is more of an all-wheel drive crossover wagon for the American market. The V60 is, of course, just an S65 door, so up front we have the same new nose that was first shown on the S60 in 2014. The 2014 refresh was a very limited model year, and they're actually moving on to the 2015 model year relatively soon because the 2014 was all about styling, and 2015 is bringing new powertrains under the hood of both the S60 as well as the V60. Up front, you won't find fog lights in this generation of V60. They've been replaced by these daytime running light LED strips. We have very attractive trim going on up front. We have these aggressive headlamps, a larger grille, a larger Volvo mark, and one interesting thing for 2015 is the radar cruise control sensor that's been better integrated into the front end of the Volvo. Before the 2014 refresh, Volvo placed their radar cruise control module lower in the car, and it was also sort of a dark black color rather than integrating with the grille on the car. It's offset because the system that Volvo uses, unlike some of the others that put it centrally mounted in the car, requires it to be slightly offset for better imaging. Right now it's integrated better into this grille, as you can see right here on this S60 that we're taking a look at. The V60 is not the boxy Volvo wagon that you may remember from your childhood, or even the boxy Volvo wagon that I loved, because I owned a Volvo V70R, so I have to disclose that fact in this video right now that I might be a tiny bit biased about Volvo wagons. I think the overall look is very attractive. We have a much more dynamic, much more elegant side profile, but one important thing is right back here because this roofline drops towards the rear, and we also don't have that same flat tailgate that Volvos were known for, which really has an impact on interior cargo capacity. Out back, we have the same classic Volvo styling cues that you find in the XC70 with this very Swedish hip going on right back here, integrated into the rear tail lamps. For 2015, we also get these new integrated exhaust tips that are integrated into the bumper. So the way that works is the exhaust tip in the car really is way behind the bumper, and these are just chrome openings that are integrated into the bumper to give you the visual impact of an exhaust that's actually part of the bumper. We also have standard parking sensors on this particular trim of the V60 that we're in right now. There are three different engine options under the hood. Things start out with this brand new 2-liter 4-cylinder direct injected engine. This is a brand new engine family for Volvo, and they tell us that this engine will eventually replace everything in their lineup. This first engine produces 240 horsepower and 258 pound-feet of torque. It can bump that up to 280 pound-feet of torque in overboost for about 10 seconds if you apply full throttle. Next up, we have a 2.5-liter 5-cylinder engine. This is the same 5-cylinder engine that Volvo has been using for a while. That's an all-wheel drive model. Produces 250 horsepower, 266 pound-feet of torque. Then, of course, we still have the 3-liter twin scroll turbo. It's not a twin turbo, it's a twin scroll turbo inline 6-cylinder engine. That's in the R design model, and it produces 325 horsepower and a whopping 354 pound-feet of torque. The 2-liter engine is front-wheel drive only at this moment, while the 2.5 and the 3-liter engines are equipped with a Haldex all-wheel drive system only, so there's no front-wheel drive version of that 3-liter turbo. There's a difference in the transmissions as well. The 2.0-liter engine is mated to an ASIN 8-speed automatic transmission. It's very similar to the one that's used in the Lexus RX 350 F Sport, while the 2.5 and the 3-liter engines are mated to a 6-speed automatic transmission. That 8-speed automatic, as well as this brand new 2-liter engine, allow the V60 to get 37 miles per gallon on the highway, which is a very good number. It's also higher than the BMW 328i. 25 in the city, 37 on the highway, equals a combined score of 29 miles per gallon overall. And during our very short time with this V60 today, we've been averaging about 30 to 31 miles per gallon, which is excellent fuel economy. Front seat comfort in the V60 is excellent. These are some of the best seats on the market, regardless of vehicle or price class. That's something that Volvo has typically been known for. We have a multi-way adjustable driver's seat, but the lumbar support remains manual for both the driver and the passenger, which is just a little quirk that Volvo has always had. One interesting thing is that these Volvo V60 seats are very aggressively bolstered. You'll see that in a bit when we tour around the interior, but it does mean that if you're a larger driver, you may find these seats a little bit confining. But for my average frame, these are some of the most comfortable seats available on the market. Rear seat comfort is just about as good as the front seats. Things are a little bit less comfortable back here because we don't get that same aggressive bolstering in the rear seats. These rear seat bottom cushions are also a little bit close to the floor for my tastes, but they're probably more comfortable for children. Speaking of children, Volvo still makes their optional integrated child booster seats available for the V60 purchasers. And they're integrated right into these back seats. So you just pull open the seat and the integrated child bolster just pops right out of the seat back. If I scoot over to the middle seat, I still have a decent amount of headroom even though our V60 is equipped with the standard sunroof. All V60s do come with that sunroof at the moment, although Volvo hasn't said whether that will continue or not. Where the V60 lets us down just a little bit is back here in the rear seats, because there isn't as much legroom as you'll find in a BMW 3 Series or a few other entries in this segment. Let's take a quick spin around the interior. All Volvos now have manually height adjustable seatbelts instead of the automatic variety that they used to have. Volvos have also reduced the size of the headrest to comply with international rearward visibility legislation. You can see right here how aggressive the bolstering is on the side of these seats. These are the standard seats in the V60. They're quite aggressive on the bolstering. I found that very comfortable for my body shape, but you might want to spend a decent amount of time in the V60 to make sure it works for you. Ours is a black on black model, so we do have a lot of black going on there. Plenty of soft touch plastics all across the car. Soft touch door panels, soft touch plastics right up here on the dash as well. If we look down here, we have a quite large glove compartment. As you can see, it has a decent amount of space in there. You can really fit quite a lot in the glove compartment. Moving over to the center console, we have a standard 7-inch LCD in all Volvo models. Navigation is, however, optional. If you want to know more about the system, then check back with us. We should have another video on the V60 as soon as we can get our hands on one. It'll probably be in about a month or so. This is a 7-inch Sensus system, as I said, and it does handle all aspects of the infotainment from car settings to the telephone, media device, radio, etc. Moving down the dashboard, we have our control panel for that system, as well as the dual zone automatic climate control, heated seats right over here. This knob over here controls that Sensus screen, OK, and a back button. We also have this very handy dial pad, which I find very convenient. Volvo continues to use a little human icon for directing airflow in the system, so you can say whether you want air to your head, to your body, to your feet, etc. Down here are the option buttons where we'll find parking assist, the automatic start-stop system, blind spot monitoring, and other options that this car does not have. We have a new shifter for the 2014 and 2015 model year. It's no longer translucent. I find this an awful lot more attractive than the translucent one Volvo was using for a short while. If you look behind this floating center console, we do have a little storage cubby right back there. Behind a roller door in the center console, you will find two large cup holders, these easily accommodated large takeout sodas. We have a 12-volt port right there by the sodas. Not quite sure how good of an idea that is for the American market, where you have sodas and you could drip something in there. If we open up the armrest, you'll find one USB port, auxiliary input, and a fairly deep compartment. The V60 uses the same configurable LCD instrument cluster as some other Volvo models. We do have a choice between 3 different themes in the system. You have elegance, you have eco, and you have the performance view. Performance view turns everything red, and it changes the speedometer from an analog view to a digital view right there, with another readout right over here on the left. Not part of the LCD instrument cluster is the drive indicator as well as the fuel gauge over there on the right. If we move out to the steering wheel, we do get a 3-spoke steering wheel design. It is quite attractive. It's also nice and thick-rimmed, chunky with soft leather wrap. Over here we have our radio controls, and then over here on the left side we have our cruise control. If we had radar cruise control, we'd have some different button arrangements over there. And now we have shift paddles on all models. See right there they are on both sides of the steering wheel. It's up on that side and then down on this side of the car. Cargo capacity as well as cargo practicality have long been associated with Volvo station wagons, and that's where the V60 lets us down just a little bit over my old V70R. We have a fairly large cargo compartment back here, but it's not as square as the old V70s used to be, so you can't put things that are quite as large in the back. You can see right here this opening slopes quite a bit right back here. We still have a very handy cargo divider in the back with a shopping bag holder and a little elastic band right there to help you strap things in. If we lift this cargo floor up, it reveals some additional cargo storage. We can keep it open right there with a little clip. And then under here is where you will find the can of Fix-A-Flat and the tire iron, because there's no spare tire going on in the V60. It's a can of Fix-A-Flat only. Again, with practicality in mind, the V60's rear seats fold in a 40-20-40 folding fashion. So this middle section opens and closes all on its own without the other seat. Now you can't lay down this side seat without laying down this middle seat as well, but it does give you a decent number of seat options that wouldn't be available in a regular 60-40 folding car. The V60 also has cargo partitions that lift up right there from the seat back, as you can see, and they fix right here on the rear of the car, or when the seat is in its down position, you can pull them out and then you can attach them right up here to keep things from flying from the cargo compartment into the passenger compartment. Like most wagons, the V60 scores 8 out of 10 points in our exclusive Trunk Comfort Index. Things are finished very nicely out here on the trunk with the same kind of plastics that are used in the rest of the cabin. We also have a 12-volt outlet right here to help you charge whatever it is you might want to charge, and a very handy helper handle to help you close that trunk lid. We're out on the road in the V60, but we only have a relatively limited amount of time with this car, so be sure and subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for the full review when we can get our hands on one for a full week. I can tell you now, out on the road, the V60 is a lively car even with this base 2-liter 4-cylinder engine in it. We haven't had an opportunity to performance test the V60 during our short time with the car, but Volvo does tell us that this car will run to 60 in under 7 seconds, which makes this faster than the old base 2.5-liter engine that was found in the old S60. After driving the Lexus RX 350 F Sport, which also uses the ASIN 8-speed automatic, I was a little bit concerned about Volvo's application because I really didn't care for the way that Lexus shifted. However, Volvo has significantly changed the software programming on the transmission, and this is night and day a different transmission versus that Lexus model. In fact, I really compare this 8-speed ASIN front-wheel drive transmission to the ZF transmission that BMW has been using in their rear-wheel drive BMW 3 Series. Shifts are very crisp, we have a very low first gear and a very tall 8th gear, which really helps the fuel economy out on the road. Again, we have had a relatively limited amount of time with this V60, but in our short amount of time, we've been averaging between 28 and 31 miles per gallon in this car, which is excellent, especially when you compare it again with that BMW 3 Series. Volvo has traditionally sent their softer tuned suspensions to America, but they've changed that for this generation of V60 because we get the same dynamic suspension as what Volvo's calling it for the American market V60, which means this is a fairly firm ride when you compare it again to that BMW 3 Series. Firm doesn't mean harsh, however. Didn't really experience any problems over broken pavement in the V60, and the suspension never feels unsettled. Comparisons with the V60 are a little bit tricky because there aren't very many options out there in the small luxury station wagon category. We really just have this, possibly the Audi A3, definitely the BMW 3 Series station wagon. We also have the Mercedes-Benz E-Class wagon, which is considerably larger. We have the Audi Allroad, yet again, which is considerably larger. And we have the Acura TSX Sport Wagon. The TSX Sport Wagon doesn't feel as sorted out on the road, and the suspension definitely feels softer in that Acura. The Acura also doesn't have the option of a 325 horsepower engine and all-wheel drive, which is a significant step up for Volvo. One disappointment, however, is that the Volvo does not offer a manual transmission in any trim level of the V60, which does set it a little bit apart from those other competitors. Volvo tells us that their new 4-cylinder line of engines is definitely their future, and while we have been able to test the 302 horsepower tune of this same engine with the turbocharger as well as a supercharger attached to it, I have to say that I will be a little bit disappointed when the inline 6 goes off into the sunset. Because although that 4-cylinder engine is just as powerful and it's a decent amount lighter, it doesn't sound quite as nice as a 6-cylinder engine. When it comes to handling, the V60 acquits itself very well. This will never handle like a rear-wheel drive BMW 3 Series station wagon, but interestingly enough, it does handle better, in my opinion, than the Audi front-wheel drive wagons, and there's a reason for that. Because in Audi models, you have the engine entirely in front of the axle, which really hampers the weight balance, whereas Volvo puts the engine on top of the axle. Of course, BMW has the engine entirely behind the axle, leading to a better weight balance, yada yada yada, which results in better handling, but the Volvo is a nice middle road option. Again, we've had a relatively limited amount of time with the V60, so be sure and subscribe to this channel, and we'll post a full video review of the V60 when we get our hands on one for a whole week. Volvo has priced the V60 very aggressively. Things start out at $35,300 for a fairly nicely equipped 4-cylinder turbo model. That compares very well with the 328i, which is about $5,000 to $6,000 more expensive than the Volvo. That discount level continues on up the option scale, so a completely loaded Volvo V60 is still going to be a considerable discount over that BMW. If you want to know more details about V60 pricing, then you can just check out Volvo's website and add $800 to a similarly equipped S60. The options and trim packages are essentially the same, even though there is a slight variance on the engine lineup, but the V60 is going to cost you about $800 more than that S60 similarly configured. Even though we've had a fairly limited time with the V60 wagon, I can definitely say I would buy this over the BMW 3 Series, and it's not just because this is $5,000 to $6,000 cheaper. This really doesn't give up a whole lot to the BMW in terms of handling or dynamic performance or feature set. The V60 is a very well-equipped vehicle. It's also very, very well priced. We get BMW beating fuel economy, and I already was praising the BMW 328i in fuel economy a number of months ago, but the V60 bests that. We also have that available 3-liter twin-scroll turbo engine, and 325 horsepower and all-wheel drive in a wagon like this is absolutely amazing. It's definitely an awful lot of fun out on the road. Even though it doesn't have the rear-wheel drive dynamics of the BMW 335i, The Volvo is about 98% there for about 90% of the price. So when you take a look at it in terms of value, the V60 has an excellent sales proposition for itself. If you're in the market for a luxury wagon, I would definitely put the V60 on your shopping list. I prefer it over the BMW, but I could see some definite reasons for buying that BMW instead. But I can see relatively few reasons for buying an Audi A3 wagon over the V60 or an Acura TSX wagon. This definitely handles better than that Acura, it feels better on the inside, and I think it looks better on the outside as well. Thanks for taking the time to check out this video. Again, I'm Alex Dykes, and this has been the 2015 Volvo V60 station wagon, and we've been driving the T5 model for the most part today. Go ahead and click on that subscribe banner at the bottom of your screen so you can be updated on all of our latest videos. Comment on this video, tell me what you liked, what you didn't like, and you can also find me on facebook.com/AlexOnAutos.